Tonight, you're going to learn about an operation so explosive, so massive in scope, that it's sending shockwaves from Colorado Springs to the southern border. And what we're about to reveal involves active duty military personnel, underground nightclubs, and a network that reaches into the heart of America's suburbs. The evidence we've assembled will show you just how deep the Biden border crisis really went and why certain people in Washington are desperately trying to keep this story buried. And when you see what's happening in your own backyard, everything you thought you knew about border security will change. Hold on tight. And just as President Trump is tackling the pain of our border crisis head on, Dr. Josh's revolutionary turmeric formula is helping Americans tackle their chronic pain naturally. While our Border Patrol fights the cartels, many Americans are fighting daily discomfort. But here's the breakthrough. This unique turmeric extract is 200 times more powerful than standard turmeric, providing relief that traditional methods can't match. It's helping patriots stay active and pain-free while our country gets back on track. Visit goldenrevive.com/NNN. It's linked down below to see how it works. Okay, so this was the scene when I went to the White House this morning. Never seen anything quite like it before. This was exclusive video shot revealing the White House lawn lined with mugshots of illegal aliens crimes set up for today's press briefing. Trump's administration sending a very strong message. Good morning from the White House. We've got a whole line of signs of everybody who has been apprehended so far. All of the illegals captured for violent crimes, all let in under Joe Biden's watch. I mean, it goes on. This is huge. All the way. It keeps going. I mean, over here, it's everywhere. They are not joking around this morning. They are sending a signal right here to let America know they are cleaning out here even more. It keeps going. The press is getting ready for their morning hits, and so am I. Welcome back to the White. Okay, so that was the scene that was this morning. It was very dramatic. So I filed this report discussing the border win and Trump slamming the courts and criminals, and the 14-page report that I received today. Whirlwind, and I didn't. Gary Franchi here, Next News Network, coming at you from just outside the West Wing, folks. It's Monday, April 28th, 2025, and the White House is a hive of action. Reporters scrambling to unpack the 8:30 a.m. briefing that just lit D.C. on fire. Now, the press room is quiet right now. Everyone's hunched over laptops, but out here, the energy is electric. I was in that briefing ready to hit Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt with a question about President Trump's court cleanup. Yeah, tied to that exclusive I nabbed last night when I got Trump on video, seconds after he hopped off Marine One, unloading on activist judges. Now, the briefing was a whirlwind, and I didn't get my shot to ask, but no worries. I've got the full scoop on what went down, plus the day's lineup, and it's all Trump delivering big league. Let's dive in, because this is the truth the swamp cannot bury. So let's kick it off with the moment I caught last night right after Trump's 7:15 p.m. Marine One landing. I asked him straight up about cleaning up the courts after Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan's arrest, and he brought the heat. Here's the clip. Let's roll it.
Mr. President, what's next for cleaning up the courts after Judge Dugan's arrest? What's next for cleaning up the courts after Judge Dugan's arrest?
Oh, it's terrible. What happened there is terrible. That could happen with a judge is so ashamed. And we have to bring our country back from all these criminals that Biden allowed to come in. These are world-class criminals and people that are insane, people from jails, murderers, drug addicts, drug dealers. And, you know, we have a country. We have to be proud of our country. We can't let these people stay. The courts are allowing them to stay. And we're just not going to allow it. So hopefully the Supreme Court will come to the rescue of our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Boom, that's Trump in warrior mode, slamming Biden's border chaos and vowing to stop courts from protecting world-class criminals. That was the perfect lead-in to today's briefing, where Leavitt and border czar Tom Homan dropped a border security sledgehammer. Now, I walk past these mugshot yard signs you can see behind me right here on the White House lawn. Faces of illegal alien murderers, child predators, you name it, nabbed by ICE. Leavitt handed out this 14-page report on 100 of the worst illegals ICE has cuffed, a blazing takedown of Biden's open border nightmare. She called Trump's first 99 days and day 100 tomorrow the most historic ever, especially on the border. Now, Biden let 10 million illegals invade, killing innocents like Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungary. Trump, well, he has locked it down, and the numbers are unreal. Leavitt said that southwest border crossings tanked to 7,000 in March of 2025, a 95% plunge from Biden's 140,000 a year ago. And February hit a record low. March went even lower. From January 20 to April 1, only 9 illegals were released into the U.S. compared to Biden's 184,000, 99.9% drop. Trump declaring a border emergency, sending the military and border patrol to crush the invasion, ended catch and release, brought back remain in Mexico, and the border wall surging, 85 miles of new construction, 75 miles of temporary barriers with Texas and DOD. Biden's CBP-1 app swapped for the CBP Home Act to push self-deportation. The cartels labeled as terrorists, with Trump wielding the Alien Enemies Act to take them out. And of course, Homan, a force of nature, a 40-year vet who served 6 presidents and says Trump's border is the most secure in history, outdoing his first term. He hit us with a stunner. Only 178 illegals crossed yesterday, down from Biden's 15,000 daily. Gotaways from 1,800 a day to 38. His Operation Tidal Wave bagged 800 illegals in Florida over 4 days. MS-13 murderers. The Lot in Colorado Springs, DHS raided a Tren de Aragua nightclub, nabbing 100 illegals with drugs and weapons. This is the biggest deportation campaign ever, and Homan's all in, and he warned illegals, register with the DHS or face jail and deportation. Got a removal order, fines up to $998 a day, and if you don't leave, that's the Trump Law and Order playbook, and MAGA is loving it. Now, things got heated in the briefing room. Reporters pushed on deporting kids or heirs, but Homan wasn't fazed. U.S. citizens, kid leaving with deported moms, their parents' choice, keeping families intact. Sanctuary cities, Homan said any official, mayors, judges harboring illegals is fair game for prosecution, echoing my Trump clip where he called out courts for letting criminals stay. Now, Leavitt confirmed Trump's open to all legal remedies to blast through judicial roadblocks, like Dugan's arrest for helping an illegal evade ICE. I had a zinger ready about Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson facing arrest for shielding illegals, but the briefing was a packed house, too many questions, not enough time. Still, Homan's warnings had every sanctuary mayor sweating. So what is on tap today? The press office schedule stacked, with Trump's keeping the momentum. At 12:30 p.m., he's lunching with Vice President J.D. Vance in the private dining room closed to the press. But you know they're cooking up something huge. At 2 p.m., he's meeting the Speaker of the House in the Oval Office, probably plotting to steamroll Congress. And at 4 p.m. on the South Lawn, he's hosting the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles, open to pre-credentialed media. I have registered, waiting for clearance, and Trump is going to fire up the fans. And then at 5, the big show, Trump signing 2 executive orders in the Oval Office, one boosting law enforcement, the other targeting sanctuary cities. Leavitt said that this EO will direct Attorney General Pam Bondi and DHS Secretary Noem to call out places like Chicago for blocking ICE. That's 140 EOs already blowing past Biden's 4-year total. This is day 99 of Trump's second term, and it's a masterclass in making America great again. The borders of fortress, cartels are on the ropes, and sanctuary cities are about to get schooled. And the left's griping. Their Pew poll says 59% disapprove. Some whine about chaos, but 36% of voters are MAGA warriors, and they are roaring. Gas prices 4-year low. Groceries down 8%. Deportations up 85%. That's victory and not chaos. So I'm out here by the West Wing where the press is hustling. The truth is breaking free, giving you the unfiltered scoop. So stick with me, folks, because Trump's just getting warmed up, and it's only Monday morning. Yeah. It's only Monday morning, man. What a way to start the week, right? Okay, Let's keep going. We've got the Bombshell Report we've assembled for you. The deep state doesn't want you to see this. What's really happening at our southern border and inside our country, from military involvement with illegals to criminal cartels operating with impunity under Biden. Let's jump into this. So this was from the press conference earlier today. I was standing right there in the front of the room. The Biden border disaster. Tom Homan was there. Here it is by the numbers. From 15,000 illegals crossing daily to just 178 under Trump.
You know what the number was? We just went over the numbers. Let me talk about a few numbers that are important to me. Under the Biden administration, we averaged over 11,000 many days, over 12,000, even some days 15,000 illegal entrants in the United States. 15,000. You know what the number was the last 24 hours? 178. 15,000 to 178. Unprecedented success. On an average day in the Biden administration, known gotaways. People we knew crossed the border because they're on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. Crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Average day under Joe Biden, more than 1,800 gotaways. Yesterday, 38. 38 too many? We'll get that to zero. But we went from 1,800 to 38. And finally, that was said earlier, under the first 100 days, or it was actually January 20th to April 1st, last year, 184,000 illegal aliens were released into the United States. Under this administration, 9. 4 of them were material witnesses in a criminal investigation. We need them here to testify in a serious criminal trial. 4 was extreme medical condition. We couldn't return them because they were in such bad shape. And 1 was a humanitarian issue. This is unprecedented success. The border secure. President Trump saving lives. President Trump has proven no one does it better than President Trump. There is no equal, it's not even close. We just went over the numbers.
Wake up, America. There are at least 20 million illegals in our country right now, not the 12 million they've been lying about for decades. Check this out. More from the press conference earlier today with Tom Homan.
We've been speaking about 12. Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States? At least 20 million. Here's where'd you come up with that number? We've been speaking about 12 million for 20 years. We know we got 10.5 that we know of came to the border. How many don't we know of? I talked about known gotaways at 2 million. How many unknown gotaways we have? Like between the Big Bend sector in Texas where there's no technology. How many 1,000 people did get across through there? We wouldn't know. We would know now. But, you know, so I would venture over 20 million. But your question is, last count, last I looked, there was about 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal charges walking the streets of this country. 700,000. And that's what we're looking for now. That's what we're prioritizing. Them and national security threats. Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States?
Under Biden, ICE had the lowest number of criminal removals in history while the border was wide open. Why? Because they were too busy releasing millions of illegals into your communities. Here's more from Tom Homan's press conference at the White House today.
I was going to go to, I don't know why. It's sick. It's the worst crime in the world when you sexually assault a child. I mean, the most innocent of us all. But that's why I made a statement that one time I was going to go to Boston and bring hell with me. And the media went crazy. Tom Homan says he's going to go to Boston and bring hell with him. I was going to bring hell to illegal aliens that rape children. There's not more of a heinous crime. And as you can see, the amount of child rapists we've arrested under this administration, that could have been arrested under the Biden administration. They were out there. They had their final orders. They were out there. But they didn't go look for them. They were too busy releasing millions of illegal aliens in this country. And the numbers prove it. The removal numbers of criminals was the lowest. ICE had the lowest number of removals in the history of ICE under Joe. At the same time, you had historic illegal immigration on the border. ICE had the lowest numbers in the history of the agency. That shows the difference between the two administrations. We're looking for every one of them. People want to know, okay, when am I going to retire for the 3rd time? I'll retire when every public safety threat, national security threat, child rape is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll rest. I don't know why. It's sick.
So why did Biden release these millions in our country? Well, follow the money. They put illegals in $500 a night hotel rooms instead of $127 a night detention beds. Why? Listen.
Why did they, and as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed at $127 a night rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose. Because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings could be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country out for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done. And as far as releasing so many people,
But here's the point I think really drives it home. Not just the monetary point, but this one.
Administration's in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country out for future political power.
Selling this country out for future political power. That's how sick these people are. Wow, he said it so clearly. We've been screaming it, and everybody knows it. And it's a breath of fresh air to hear it from the White House podium in that press room. Now, the elites won't tell you this. Biden was the first president in American history to deliberately unsecure our border. Here's more from Tom Homan. Another amazing moment.
Look, I started in the Border Patrol in 1984. I've been at this for over 40 years. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I ever worked for took border security seriously because you can't have national security if you don't have strong border security. We got to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where's coming in, why it's coming in, right? Even President Obama and President Clinton took some steps to secure the border because they understood national security was important. Joe Biden was the first president in the history of this nation who came in office and unsecured a border on purpose. That's just a fact. We handed the Biden administration, after President Trump's first administration, we handed the Biden administration the most secure border in my lifetime, and he unsecured it on purpose. Now, President Trump and this administration here, their success is unprecedented. We beat Trump's first administration on border success. Border numbers are historic low. Today, as I'm standing here, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. And the numbers prove it. Look, I started in the Border Patrol in 1984.
Major raid in Colorado Springs. Did you hear about this? Uncovers an underground nightclub with over 200 people, including 100 illegal aliens, drugs, and weapons. And active duty military personnel acting as security happening in your backyard.
Enforcement Administration. Hello, I'm Diane Derby with an update to breaking news. More than 100 undocumented migrants are in custody right now after an overnight raid at an underground nightclub in Colorado Springs. That's according to the Drug Enforcement Administration. It happened this morning on the southeast side of Colorado Springs. This is just northwest of the intersection of South Academy Boulevard and Airport Road. Take a look at this video the DEA posted on X. You can see law enforcement breaking a window at a building as dozens of people start running out of it. The DEA says more than a dozen active duty members of our military were either working in this underground nightclub as security or there as patrons. The DEA says drugs and weapons were seized during this operation. News 5's Allison Zimmerman has been live at the scene since early this morning. She's been talking with the special agent in charge of the DEA Rocky Mountain Field Division. Allison, what are you learning right now?
And Diane, the special agent in charge from the DEA is saying that Colorado Springs is waking up to a safer city after this massive operation took place overnight. Now, what we know is more than 300 federal law enforcement officers arrived here. Again, we're in Southeast Colorado Springs. We're directly across the street from the Satellite Hotel, just to give you an idea of just exactly where we are. And as you mentioned, this was an underground nightclub, a very big drug trafficking investigation, and then resulted in more than 100 illegal immigrants being detained here today. We do know that there were a couple of other people that were also detained for having state warrants as well. And you certainly mentioned the military presence. Perhaps one of the most shocking, stunning details this morning that we were hearing is about a dozen active duty military members that were here overnight in this underground nightclub. And they were saying how they are now being referred over to the Army Criminal Investigations Division. But we do not know if they are active duty service members stationed at Fort Carson. Certainly, we know that Army CID is investigating. But when we were speaking with the special agent in charge with the DEA, this is one of the things he talked about when we were specifically focusing on the illegal immigrants and this big drug investigation. Take a listen.
These crimes go hand in hand, right? When we find drug trafficking and prostitution, unfortunately, we're finding a lot of illegal aliens. 200 people in this club, a lot of drug trafficking happened, weapons, prostitution, over half the people inside were illegals.
Hello, I'm Diane Derby.
That is absolutely insane to think that you had active duty military, like performing security as all of that activity was going on. What kind of security are they providing? I mean, are they securing the place so everyone looks the other way? I mean, seriously, there's going to be a lot of questions. Over a dozen active duty U.S. military members caught working security at a legal nightclub with drug trafficking. Here is more from the DEA.
So good morning, John Pullen with DEA and the Rocky Mountain Division. We're here on the scene of an underground nightclub where over 300 federal law enforcement, along with our local partners from El Paso County and Colorado Springs PD, executed an enforcement operation this morning. It's a drug investigation. We seized quite a number of guns and took a number of people into custody. I think what I'd like for people to know as a result of this operation is that Colorado Springs is waking up to a safer community today.
Jonathan, give us some perspective here. 300 law enforcement officers. What brought about this kind of requirement, this kind of need to be here with that show of force?
So this is an underground illegal nightclub, okay? And what was happening inside was significant drug trafficking, prostitution, crimes of violence. We seized a number of guns in there. We had active duty service members who were running security at the club and involved in some of these crimes. And in fact, we had over 100 illegal aliens inside as well, and those over 100 illegal aliens were taken into custody by ICE.
Active duty service members helping as security here. Can you elaborate on that at all?
So it's an ongoing investigation, but we had over a dozen active duty service members in the club tonight, either as patrons or working as armed security.
How many of those were detained and what are they facing right now?
So Army CID was one of our partners out here, and they're going to work with us on what the next steps for those active duty service members looks like.
You mentioned that this is a drug trafficking operation. Can you elaborate on any drugs you found, the amount, any charges you anticipate that could come out of tonight?
So as you may suspect, when the cops showed up at the door, most of the drugs hit the floor. And we did find cocaine. It looks like some pink cocaine or the Tusi. And there's a little bit of other drugs, but we haven't had time to test everything. But there were dozens of small packages of drugs that they've recovered so far that I've personally seen.
How does it got to this location?
This has been a long-term investigation by DEA and a number of our federal partners. And so we've been working on this underground nightclub for a number of months, doing undercover, surveillance, a lot of other work to identify what's going on here. And again, you know, months-long information about drug trafficking and prostitution happening inside. So, good morning, John.
Freaking believable. DEA confirming 13 Tren de Aragua Hell's Angels operating inside the underground club. The cartels have infiltrated our communities while the establishment looked the other way. This is the Biden legacy. Under Biden, an average of 1,800 gotaways every day, people who cross the border without being fingerprinted or vetted. Yesterday, under Trump, just 38. This is the new America First difference.
In many days, we just want the numbers. Let me
Here's Tom Homan from today's press conference.
talk about a few numbers that are important to me. Under the Biden administration, we averaged over 11,000 many days, over 12,000, even some days 15,000 illegal entrants in the United States. 15,000. You know what the number was last 24 hours? 178. 15,000 to 178. Unprecedented success. On an average day in the Biden administration, known gotaways. People we knew crossed the border because they're on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. Crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Average day under Joe Biden, more than 1,800 gotaways. Yesterday, 38. 38 too many? We'll get that to zero. But we went from 1,800 to 38. And finally, that was said earlier, under the first 100 days, or it was actually January 20th to April 1st, last year, 184,000 illegal aliens were released into the United States. Under this administration, 9. 4 of them were material witnesses in a criminal investigation. We need them here to testify in a serious criminal trial. 4 was extreme medical condition. We couldn't return them because they were in such bad shape. And 1 was a humanitarian issue. This is unprecedented success.
The globalists won't report this, that Biden policies led to 600% increase in sex trafficking. How many children were victimized? How many Americans died? Trump's policies are saving lives every single day.
How many women? President Trump's policies are saving lives every day. There's been studies done that says 31% of women that make that journey through use of cartels get sexually assaulted. When President Trump has illegal immigration down 96%, when 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted by the cartels? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this nation? How many known suspected terrorists aren't making it into this country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting into this country to kill young Americans? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked? Under Joe Biden, sex trafficking is up 600%. We had 4,000 aliens dying making that journey. We had 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl that came across an open border. President Trump's policy saves lives every day. Even the border wall saves lives. The people want to hate on the border wall. Every place a border barrier has been built, illegal migration's declined, illegal drug flows decline. But you know what no one talks about? The border wall saves lives. Because the most vulnerable, the women and children, can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women of the United States Border Patrol who will take care of those humanitarian needs, the health needs right off the bat. President Trump's policy.
So what we've just revealed about the cartel invasion isn't just a wake-up call. It's a reminder of how close we came to losing our country. The underground network we've exposed tonight raises a chilling question. How many more of these operations are still active in American cities? How deep does this really go? Share your theories in the comments below, and of course, any tips, because we want to hear what you think about this unprecedented threat to our national security. And before you go, visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It's linked down below. Our commitment to exposing the truth about our border crisis never wavers, and your support through our merchandise helps keep real journalism alive.